Dusk settled like a heavy shroud over the plains, the sky smeared in blood-red light and choking dust. Eli Mercer rode slow, his shoulders sagging beneath the weight of miles and years. The cattle drive was done, but his body still ached with every sway of the saddle. His horse's hooves crunched over dry earth, steady and tired, until something broke the monotony of the trail. A tangle of blankets, half buried near a mesquite bush. Eli pulled the reins, his mount snorting uneasily in the still air. He dismounted, boots sinking into brittle dirt. Silence pressed in, broken only by the restless toss of his horse's head. Kneeling, Eli peeled back the edge of the blanket. What he found made his breath catch. A young woman lay crumpled within, her face swollen, streaked with blood and dust. Her lips trembled as though even breath was too much weight. When she spoke, her voice was thin, cracked like old wood. "Just kill me fast." The words froze Eli in place. He had known death before, dug graves for his own children when fever stole them, stood by as neighbors buried wives and sons. But this was different. This was cruelty laid bare. Her body bore marks no doctor could mend, yet her chest still rose in fragile defiance. Eli's throat tightened. He hovered between mercy and duty, torn by the ghost of his own losses. His hand brushed the worn grip of his Colt, trembling not from fear, but from the weight of choice. Then, hoofbeats, distant, rolling closer, the kind that spoke of trouble, bandits maybe, the same devils who had left her broken in the dirt. The woman's eyes fluttered open, filled with pain, yet begging still. The plea hung in the cooling air, as Eli's heart pounded against time. Would he turn away, ride for safety, or draw his iron and gamble both their lives on a fight he hadn't asked for? The hoofbeats thundered nearer. Eli hadn't yet decided. The door of Eli Mercer's ranch groaned open against the wind, carrying with it the scent of dust and blood. He staggered inside, the limp weight of the woman cradled in his arms. Her head lolled against his chest, strands of dirt-matted hair hiding most of her face. He laid her gently on the bed that had once belonged to his late wife, the quilt faded but clean. Her breath rasped shallow, lips trembling as she whispered a name. "Clara. Clara Dawson." Eli's chest tightened. The name made her human, not just some broken thing left on the trail. The lantern glow revealed the truth of her suffering. Stripes carved into her back, wrists rubbed raw, her body thinned near to bone. She had been whipped, starved and discarded like bait for wolves. With rough but careful hands, Eli cleaned and dressed the wounds. His fingers shook. Each cut seemed to pull ghosts out of the walls, his wife gasping her last in childbirth. The laughter of daughters long buried by cholera. This ranch had been a tomb for years, its silence heavier than any coffin. And now, here was Clara, a stranger clawing at the edge of death, giving him a chance, though he dared not name it, as though God had dropped a wounded soul at his doorstep for him to carry. "End it," she whispered again, voice like broken glass. Eli leaned close, steady and low. "No, ma'am, not here. No harm's comin' for you under this roof." Her eyes flickered with the faintest spark of belief. Between gasps, fragments of her tale spilled, a stagecoach ambushed, weeks in outlaw hands, and at last abandoned in the dirt. Eli's jaw set hard. He knew men like that never stayed gone. His rifle leaned ready against the wall. He kept watch on the horizon, the weight of coming violence thick in the night. Then, a lantern flared just beyond the window. Someone was already at the ranch. The knock came slow, dragging against the wood like a coffin nail being hammered shut. Each thud echoed through the lonely ranch house, making Clara flinch beneath the quilt. Her lips quivered, breath shallow as she whispered, "It's them." Eli's hand tightened around his rifle, knuckles white, heart hammering like a war drum. He moved to the door, every creak of the floorboards sounding too loud in the silence. When he cracked it open, the night spilled in, cold moonlight laying silver across the dirt yard. 3 riders waited there, shadows on horseback, grinning wolves in the dust. At their center sat Duke Rourke, a broad man with a jagged scar running from ear to jaw. His voice carried easy, like a snake sliding over stone. "Evening, Mercer. We left something of ours here. Hand her over and we'll be on our way." Eli's jaw worked tight. His voice came low, steady, though his stomach churned. "She's dead, buried at first light." Duke's grin didn't falter. The men fanned out, circling slow, spitting curses and threats into the night. The sound of spurs against wood rattled the barn doors. From the bed, Clara's eyes darted wild. each scrape of boots across the porch, dragging her back into her torment. Eli pressed a hand to her shoulder, whispering, "Hush now, they won't touch you here." Yet inside, fear gnawed deep. He was no longer the young ranch hand who could outdraw a man at 20 paces. Time had stolen that edge. The outlaws laughed, their shadows sliding across the windows, testing every corner of his sanctuary. Hours dragged, the weight of darkness stretching long. Then, glass shattered. A bullet ripped through the window frame, splinters flying. Clara screamed, clutching at the quilt. Eli steadied the rifle, though his hands shook with both age and fury. From the yard came Duke's voice, cold as iron. "You've got till sundown, Mercer. Give her up, or we burn ye. I'll both out." The sun rose pale and pitiless, stretching daylight long across the ranch like a noose tightening. Eli's hammer struck wood in steady rhythm as he boarded the windows, the sound sharp against the stillness. Sweat streaked down his brow, his hands raw from labor, yet his body moved slower than it once had. Every nail he drove carried the weight of years pressing down on bone and muscle grown stiff. Inside, Clara stirred weakly under the quilt, fever burning her cheeks. Her voice came ragged, each word cutting deeper than a blade. "Let me go, Eli. I can't face them again. I ain't scared of dying, only of being dragged back alive." Eli stopped cold, her words driving straight into the hollow of his chest. He had buried too many he loved, lost too much to cruel chance. Now here was another life begging him not to fight, and still he could not yield. He touched her hand, rough palm against her frail fingers. "You ain't alone in this, Clara, not while I'm still breathing." By noon, smoke began to curl black against the horizon. The outlaws had set fire to the pasture, their laughter riding the wind like a whip. Flames licked across dry grass, creeping toward the ranch in cruel promise. Eli raised his rifle from the porch and fired, the crack of the shot echoing through the valley. One rider slumped from his saddle, but the others only howled with rage, spurring their horses harder. Clara clutched his arm, tears streaking her dirt-stained face. "Don't fight for me, not if it'll kill you too." But Eli's gaze stayed fixed on the horizon, jaw set like stone. This land was all he had left, and she was the last soul he could still save. As the sun bled lower, Duke Rourke lifted his hand high, a signal for the final assault. The sun bled across the plains like an open wound, setting the world in fire and shadow. Then came the thunder, hoofbeats pounding, rifles cracking. The outlaws stormed the Mercer Ranch, their gunfire shattering glass, tearing holes through the wooden walls. Each shot made the house groan like it might collapse under the weight of violence. Inside, Eli crouched low, rifle braced against the window frame. His shoulder ached, his lungs burned, but he returned fire with a fury he hadn't felt in years. Every trigger pull rattled his bones, yet each bullet flew straight, cutting through the smoke-choked air. In the chaos, Clara stirred from the bed. Weak, trembling, she dragged herself across the floor, crawling to the spare rifle. Her hands shook as she worked the cartridges, pushing them into Eli's palm. Her voice, barely a whisper, brushed against his ear. "Keep fighting, Eli. Don't stop now." Together, they became something neither could have managed alone. An old rancher clinging to redemption, and a broken woman clawing her way back to life. But the enemy was many. Outside, flames leapt high as the barn caught, fire roaring hotter than the setting sun. Smoke rolled over the ranch, filling Eli's lungs until every breath came ragged. A bullet tore across his shoulder, another punched near his ribs, stealing what little strength he had left. Still he fought, not for himself, but for the chance that Clara might see another dawn. Then the door burst open. An outlaw stormed inside, eyes wild, gun raised. Clara's hand seized the shotgun, her body shaking. She pulled the trigger. The blast roared like thunder, the man falling hard against the floorboards. The recoil knocked her backward, but her cry was fierce, defiant. Rage bellowed from outside. Duke Rourke himself stormed through the smoke, a beast in the doorway. He and Eli collided, fists, steel, and fury thrashing in the haze. Old bone cracked, blood spilled, yet Eli fought like a man with nothing left to lose. With a final surge, Eli drove his blade deep into Rourke's gut. The outlaw staggered, choking, before collapsing in the firelight. But Eli too swayed, blood pouring from his side. He stumbled, the world spinning red. Clara caught him as he fell, clutching him tight, screaming his name while the flames closed in around them. The gunfire faded into silence, leaving only the crackle of fire and the hiss of burning timbers. Smoke curled against the pale dawn, drifting over bodies sprawled in the dust. The Mercer Ranch, once a refuge of memories, stood blackened, broken, and dying with the man who had defended it. Eli slumped heavy in Clara's arms, his blood seeping warm through her dress. His breaths came shallow, rattling, each one harder to find. Clara shook him, tears streaking down her dirt-stained face. "Stay with me, Eli. Please, don't go." A faint smile tugged at his lips. His voice was ragged, but gentle. "No, Clara. You gotta live. My time's done. Yours. Yours is just startin'." He spoke of his daughters then, names trembling on his tongue, of promises left broken in graves long filled. His eyes glistened with the ache of years, yet softened with peace. Savin' you, it was my last chance to keep one promise." Her sobs shook the quiet, but she gripped his hand tight, refusing to release it. Dawn crept slow over the horizon, brushing light across Eli's worn face. His gaze fixed on that glow, as if he saw his family waiting in the fields beyond this world. His chest rose once more, then stilled. Clara bent over him, her cries lost in the wind. Grief hollowed her, yet within its ache flickered something fragile, strength born from his sacrifice. By midday she had dug a grave on the hill, beneath the wide branches of the oak. She laid him down careful, placed his weathered hat at the marker, and whispered a farewell that broke her heart anew. The ranch lay in ruin, nothing left but ash. With trembling hands, she saddled Eli's horse, his rifle strapped across her back. The land stretched wide and merciless, yet no longer empty. She rode on, carrying him in memory, in sacrifice, in hope. Her face, scarred and weary, lifted to the rising sun. In a voice both broken and strong, she repeated the words he once gave her. "No harm will touch you again." The wind carried her vow across the horizon, where the west swallows all but memory,